Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Dona Kappmeyer, and I'm the CEO and firm owner of Action Coach of Coastal Bend and Capital Game Plan Consulting in South Texas. And I will be your host for today. I am very excited to have our special guest, Tara Bové, on our show. Tara is the owner and publisher of Boerne Lifestyle. Today, we're going to speak with Tara about her journey to get to where she's at today and the challenges and successes of owning and operating a business. If this is your first time on our channel, please be sure to like and subscribe so you can get notifications when we publish new content. Well, Tara, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Donna. This is fun. I'm excited to be here.
Likewise, you are quite welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So tell me a little bit about how your business is structured.
So I operate a magazine called Boerne Lifestyle. We produce print and digital content, provide marketing opportunities in a wide range of ways. But the way it is structured is I own the magazine,
Okay.
but it is connected to a franchise. So it is a franchise-based model in terms of I own the magazine locally. I run it. I have a team that I've formed and put together to help us produce the content locally and produce and distribute it to the market where we live.
Fantastic. How long have you been in business?
I have owned the magazine for 3.5 years.
Awesome. Fantastic. So if we talk a little bit about your target market and what makes your magazine special, who is your ideal customer or who is your ideal target market?
You know, it's funny because I just came from a client meeting actually, and we
Awesome.
were talking about this very thing because the folks I was speaking to are real estate agents, and they work in a luxury market, and our readers are very targeted because we have what I would consider kind of this curated audience that we work really hard to achieve for our business partners, because we are delivering to readers who are aged 35 to 65. And those readers live in a very specific area. So we often say, you know, we really are targeting an affluent audience in terms of our readership. So we have two different objectives with our publication and the model of what we do, because on one hand, we're creating content that we want to make sure is relevant and interesting for our readers. And those readers live in homes valuated from anywhere from $800,000 to $7.5 million. And yet we also care very much about our community in which we live and connecting our readers to things that are going on in and around our community. So that's the readership standpoint. But from a client standpoint, our advertising partners, the people who we bring into what I consider the Boerne Lifestyle family, are businesses who operate and deliver goods, services that people who are reading the magazine would want to interact with. And so it's very important that when we partner, we're looking and seeking businesses that want to speak to that audience.
Fantastic. Do you find that that connection is mostly in that area, in the Boerne area?
Yes, for the most part, I would say in and around what I call the greater Boerne area community. We do have a target. We have 3 zip codes that we mail to. So it's a little bit, it's an expansive audience because we actually have readers. Our readership is about 98,000 per month.
Okay.
Um,
Awesome.
and we go to 3 zip codes. So in our market, that zip code is 78257, 78015, and 78006. So it's a really great area for anyone who lives in and around the San Antonio area. You know, we're kind of like, we consider Boerne the gateway of the hill country. So we're just off the 1604 coming up Interstate 10, and as you head that way, on 10, you're going to engage with people who are a part of the Boerne area. Yeah, but in terms of businesses, I do have some business partners who maybe have their main location in another city, but they service this area, or they're wanting to talk to our readers because they have something, whether it's a home services company, that they are servicing multiple cities or areas. We have quite a few businesses that are larger, and so they're going to serve not just the Boerne area, but also San Antonio or Austin, New Braunfels, etc.
Fantastic. So we talk about unique propositions. Do you find that the importance of that relationship makes your magazine unique, or is that something that's very common in the industry?
I believe our approach is unique because I really care about the relationship with those business owners. They're making a significant investment to have their brand in our magazine. And I want to make sure that their needs are being met. I want to make sure we have a good relationship. Also, it's important because I am putting them in front of our readers. I'm vetting these businesses and saying, hey, I encourage you to interact and do business. These are people, organizations that do a really fantastic job. It is definitely about quality versus quantity.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about marketing and marketing strategies. What have you found to be your best marketing strategy or your most successful marketing strategy in your business?
It's been interesting because when I purchased the magazine, you think about stepping out on a limb and doing something that's a little bit risky. We
Mhm.
definitely were walking through that experience when we considered the opportunity. Um, and one of the things that was really important to us was doing this well, and making sure that as we approached the business, we created an exceptional product and walked through it with excellence. And that's kind of, I would say, a cornerstone of the model throughout my career, not just in this industry, but other industries. It's always been a foundational piece for me in terms of how I do business. Um, I'm sorry, I forgot what the question was you asked.
About your most successful marketing strategy or
Oh, yeah.
approach. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. So
betcha.
that sends me over to what we have found is that our magazine is one of the most valuable marketing tools we have, because we've invested so much time and effort and energy in producing a really great publication. We determined that our covers were really important, and the quality of the publication, the content was really important. So people are consuming the magazine. There are business leaders who are in the marketplace and happen to walk into a doctor's office, and they're going to see a variety of magazines displayed on that table. Boerne Lifestyle needs to stand out. So how do we make that happen? Well, we have compelling and beautiful covers, ones that have meaning to them and are going to catch the eye of the person who sees them. So that has been something we have definitely been very intentional about, as well as being very intentional about the content, the quality of the content, the balance of the content, so that it's interesting, so that people are excited to receive the publication. They want to see what's in each issue as it comes out every month. I again, and I was speaking with some business owners, and they said, "Yeah, Tara, I mean, your cover really stands out. It pulls you in. It makes you want to grab it." So if I'm a business owner and I'm making a decision on this type of investment, do I want to choose something that I know people are going to be excited to look at and see? Yes, because then my brand is going to have better visibility.
I've had the opportunity to take a look at your magazine online and the covers, and I can't wait for our audience to get your information later on because they're beautiful. It's just beautiful. So, well done. So you're very intentional and very strategic about your approach in producing something that's very high quality. Um, a lot of times we have challenges and we have to overcome hurdles. Do you have any hurdles that stand out that, oh my goodness, we had to overcome this to make sure that we got to where we want to be?
I think I had a hurdle yesterday I was going over. I mean, it's honestly, I think that so much when you own your own business is I am my own worst critic. So I definitely sift myself with a big way to make sure that what we're doing and what I'm doing, how I'm going about my business, that I'm doing it really, really well. So I was just having a conversation and I was frustrated about some things that had happened. And I told myself, Tara, it's okay. Just keep doing the right thing every day. And sure enough, you get through that challenge and then you have a celebration. You have something positive that happens. And I've seen that over and over. My husband, who's the executive director with Boerne Lifestyle, he will hear me speak to him frequently when I'm having one of those moments. And he's always says, just you're doing the right, just keep going, Tara. And I find that you get through it. I think business owners sometimes have a tendency to get lost in that and then give up or throw in the towel when really you
Yeah.
just need to kind of dig in deeper and know that you're going to get through that little obstacle. But in the beginning, I heard from a lot of people, this is going back to when I first got the publication, I didn't have a great tool to sell at that moment in time. I had come on the throes of two previous owners over 2 years. So it had only been in the market for those 2 years. So I was taking over a brand that already existed.
Okay.
Usually, a lot of times in this industry, you have publications that are being newly launched by that owner operator. And in my situation, it was not that. I realized probably about 3 months into that journey that it was actually like a takeover. Uh, and I had done a lot of takeovers in my past career. And when I realized 3 months in that that's what was happening, I laughed. I kind of chuckled. I'm like, here I am doing a takeover, not a takeover, but a turnaround situation again. But it made sense to me. I knew exactly what we needed to do. Um, some of the challenges at that time was just, it was a stapled publication. Most people want to see something that's perfect bound. Those are technical
Mhm.
things that have to do specifically with my industry. But those were hurdles I had to overcome.
So you talked about turnaround or takeover. Can you explain a little bit more to our audience about what that means in a little bit more detail?
Sure. In the context of what I do in this situation, the when I stepped in, the publication was not really making money, and it was stagnant.
Okay.
So I had to quickly grow our publication in terms of volume of new partners, as well as allowing me to then add pages. But you cannot add pages without the partners to accommodate the cost associated with extra pages of print. Uh,
Got it.
so, and for me, also part of that had to do with the styling of it. So, you do a brand audit with any business. It's so important to understand who you are and what your brand is. And one of the things my husband and I really looked at was what is the brand and are we on target? And if we're
Okay.
not, what do we need to do to shift the needle to make sure that we're super on target with who our audience is? And I talked about that in the beginning. Who are our readers? Well,
Hmm.
we're a luxury lifestyle publication. Do we look and feel like a luxury lifestyle publication? Is everything reflected in that? And what is our purpose? So those were things that we had to define, that I had to really look at. And so over the course of time, I mean, one of the beacons I would say of who we are as an organization is it's very important to me that what we do is be a light in our community. And I see our publication when it goes direct mail into a home and a reader gets it out of the mailbox, I want them to put a smile on their face. So I see Boerne Lifestyle as a beacon of light, connecting our community to the people and places and things in and around the greater Boerne area that make it special because people have great pride in living in the Boerne community.
Yeah.
And I love to unfold and share stories and talk about people that people don't even know live here and are doing amazing, amazing things. I have a great example of that, actually. There was a husband
Awesome.
and wife, yeah, who had reached out to me, and they said, "Hey, we've illustrated a children's book." And I said, "Oh, well, that's wonderful." And they said, "Is there any way you could do a story on that?" And I said, "Well, I would love to see it." And they found out I had a 4-year-old, and they said, "Well, it's a perfect book for that age bracket." And they dropped off a copy of their book on my front porch. It was called Lena the Halva, Lena the Halvalina.
Lena the Javelina. Love
Yes,
it. Ah,
husband and wife team who wrote it and illustrated, and it was a beautifully done, beautiful book, well presented. And I thought, I love this. This is amazing. I would have never known that you guys lived here, that you produced this book. And so we saved that as a nugget, and we ended up doing a story on this team, and it was in our February local love issue. So that was something that it just makes me smile. It's fun to think about, being able to share stories like that with our community.
absolutely. That's fantastic. So let's talk about you. We've talked about turnover and takeover. Let's talk about future state. Where do you see this business in the next 3 to 5 years?
We've met many of the objectives that I had in terms of the size of the publication, but we're not where I want it to be quite yet.
Yeah.
So, one of the strategies that we had was making sure that the publication had enough weight to it. So, when people receive it in the mail, they'd be like, "Ooh, this is not a flyer. This is not a new like flimsy. It's weighty. It's something that they're going to keep. They're going to put on their coffee table. They're going to read through it. They're in their leisure time. They're going to look at the magazine." So we are at 108 pages. My goal is to be, 120 pages. I would say 3 years from now, I could see us being even bigger than that, but not too large where it's, like a Sears Roebuck catalog. We don't want to
We all
be
remember some of
that.
those. Some of us
Yeah.
remember those, right? We would get excited at the end of the or right before Christmas, right? We would get those magazines.
Well, and the other aspect is there are a lot of different models of publications. Ours is printed monthly, so we're creating
Mhm.
content every single month. So there's also the dynamic of bandwidth of team and making sure we scale appropriately.
Well, speaking of team, you just led right into it, so that you do have a team, and it takes a team to produce that amazing product that you have. What is
Mhm.
your approach to hiring and recruiting team members?
I love interacting. Um, I love when you meet people or people in your sphere and you understand their talents and gifts and can
Hmm.
align that person in who they are and their own goals or needs and find a fit for them within your team. So when I look back at my past career, because my career was actually in healthcare administration, I worked in the senior living space. And I remember looking at my team, and I would find someone who was a phenomenal person and they had all these great characteristics, but sometimes they would be in the wrong seat. So
Yeah.
I would try to figure out how can I have them love what they do and also fulfill an unmet need of our community, our team, or whatever the business structure needs were at that time. And so I'm very open to being creative to figuring out solutions. So I have an editor. I knew him from actually work I did with our church, and he was a creative director. But at the time when I interacted with him, time had passed since he had worked in that role. We had interacted because I was very involved in foreign missions. And so I always thought he produced great stuff. And happened chance to end up at a birthday party together, celebrating a mutual friend, and he found out I bought the magazine. He wanted to know about potentially writing for the magazine. And I said,
Awesome.
I'd like to have a different conversation with you, because I knew his background with the creative element, and we ended up finding a seat for him as our editor. And then I have someone, so I will look at who I know. So I knew a woman locally who I needed someone who's hyper local in our community, who was a photographer. And she ended up coming on board and has been our editorial coordinator for the last, like both she and Daniel, over 2 years. So it's just, that's usually how I go about it. I don't think I have advertised a position at this point in time, those types of roles.
That says a whole lot right there about your organization, about who you are, what kind of leadership style that you have and your approach. The fact that you don't have to post for a position, that says a whole lot. And it sounds like it's worked very well for you.
Yes, I believe it's been a good strategy thus far, and I'm just always amazed. I will meet people, and in the back of my mind, I'll think, "Wow, I love that about them." And I may not have something where I feel like there's a fit, but I'll remember that person so that I can go back to them in the future should I have a need come about with the with my business.
Always having your eye on who that next person could be, regardless of what business that they're in or what they're doing. That's amazing. It's beautiful. It's a great approach. So people who are listening to this today, please take note of that. Always be looking for talent, even in unexpected places.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So if you were to define your key to success or your keys to success, what would those one or two things be?
Um, I believe in professionalism and integrity. Uh, but also having fun. I think there's like this really unique balance. When I think about teams, some of the things that make me smile is thinking about the fun things that happen when you're together as a team. Because that, when people feel like they have ownership in something, they have a shared vision. When you can get people excited about what your shared vision is, what your value system is, and what you're trying to accomplish and achieve, it makes so much. It makes it fun. It doesn't make it work. It makes it
Yeah,
something that everyone is a part of. Um, I have people that I worked with who are on my team from years ago. Again, I go back to my previous industry that I worked in, who I still connect with, who I still talk to, because those people were not just roles that they filled. They were humans who had lives, who had a lot, and I got to know and care for those people. So I think if you're in a leadership role, that's so important. People cannot be clock in, clock out numbers. You
yeah.
have to honor those humans for who they are, um, and yeah, I think that's so important. That aspect of things. And then, looking terms of painting that picture. What does excellence look like to you? What do you hope to achieve? Um, Seeing things in people and organizations that maybe other people don't see, and then calling that out from them.
Mhm.
So I used to have a philosophy when I ran senior living communities, and I called it the white glove test. So you would go around the building, and if there was, dust or dirt, I would say this is a reflection of the care. If the community is not clean, then what does that mean? How you're caring for a loved one? Are you tending to your needs? Are you taking care of them? Um, I tell my team now, if we make mistakes, which we will, it's okay. But it's how we respond to it that really matters. Can we get better through learning what we learned by that error that occurred? What can we do to make that better? So I think that's just a philosophy that I've deployed no matter what environment I've been in.
Beautiful. You've given some good advice today. Is there any other piece of advice that you would like to share with our audience who are business owners?
I think having a cheerleading team around you, finding people who believe in you, is really important, and knowing that they're there to give you those encouraging words when you're feeling down. I have a peer group of other publishers, who
Okay.
has become this really sweet group, and we have a group text, and we are able to shout out and congratulate each other and encourage one another when we're having frustrations or give advice. And it's kind of like a peer-to-peer network. And it's proven to be, I think, now I consider them all friends. But I think for other business owners, I think it's important that you have some element of that, or you create it if it doesn't exist.
That's really important, Tara, because it's lonely at the top, and if you don't surround yourself with successful-minded individuals, it's real easy to compartmentalize or withdraw or think that you're doing this on your own. And what a great way to share successes, but also be able to vent and express frustrations and feel like you're not alone in this. So, audience, if you have a peer network that you can reach out to, I would encourage you to do something very similar to what Tara's doing. That's great advice.
Thank you.
What is the best way for our audience to find out more information about you?
Oh, I am on LinkedIn, so you can find me there, Tara Bové. And we have a website, our digital landing page and copies. You mentioned our magazine. People can subscribe to receive the publication in their inbox. Is City Lifestyle /Bernie. If somebody wants to get in touch with me, let's say you operate a business in and around the greater Boerne area and would love to have the reach that we provide through Boerne Lifestyle, my email address is tara.bove, B-O-V-E, at citylifestyle.com. Yeah, and I would love for people to follow us. We have Instagram, Facebook. We've got a lot going on with what we're doing.
Fantastic. Well, check Tara out. She's got some amazing magazine. It is just beautiful, and you're going to love it when you see her covers and her content. Well, thank you for sharing your story. This has been fantastic, and I know the audience will find the information that you presented today very valuable. This is a Business Spotlight series with Dona Kappmeyer from Action Coach of Coastal Bend and Tara Bové from Boerne Lifestyle. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue to see our great content. And thank you for being with us today. Tara, thank you so much for being on our show and sharing your story.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. Bye for now.